This week's episode is brought to you by Campaign Refinery, an amazing new email marketing automation tool. Look, in the world of digital marketing, there's a lot to keep track of. We all know this. As much as we're in love with social media and the power of social conversation here at Social Inc. and on the All About Digital Marketing podcast, we are well aware at just how powerful email marketing can be. Email marketing is not dead. In fact, it's never been more important to help you leverage your presence everywhere else into the one channel that you'll own, regardless of what changes Facebook, Twitter, or any other platform makes in the future. I've known the founder, Travis Ketchum, for years, and he's been a past guest on the podcast, episode 15 if you want to listen to it. I've personally used his other products before, and they've been fantastic. The amount of thought that he's put into each and every one of what he's created has been incredible. I'd highly encourage you to try their free 14-day trial at campaignrefinery.com to see what world-class email marketing automation can do for you and your business. Massive thank you to Travis and Campaign Refinery for their support of the All About Digital Marketing show. Welcome to the All About Digital Marketing podcast. The show all about
digital marketing.
Digital marketing.
Digital marketing.
Digital marketing.
Brought to you by Social Inc., a digital marketing agency specializing in social media and content marketing for brave brands and forward-thinking SMEs. I'm your host, Chris Bruno, and as always, we're here to bring you the most actionable tips, tricks, tools, and insights to help you achieve more when it comes to your digital marketing. Subscribe to the show and be sure to share with a friend if you found something useful or interesting. You can find all the show notes and more information on www.allaboutdigitalmarketing.co.uk. Farhana, thank you so much for coming on today.
Thank you so much for having me, Chris.
So I'm looking forward to this because today we're going to talk about Instagram marketing. And I know that there's a lot of people out there that are struggling to make any kind of impact on their Instagram. But before we get started, Farhana, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you currently do?
Yes, of course. So my name's Farhana Cannon, and I'm the founder of iMedia Exposure. I'm a social media and brand expert, and I help businesses attract and convert their perfect customer online. And I like to focus particularly on social media and Instagram. And I've started my company 10 years ago. So of course, we didn't start off working with Instagram, but I feel like there's really great growth potential for people to really connect and engage with their perfect customer there. So I help people create their marketing plans, execute their marketing plans, help them with their branding and their photo shoots, and kind of telling their brand story and really connecting with their perfect person online.
So I find this always really interesting because I feel like there's particular niches or industries that are inherently better off on Instagram than on other platforms. Would you agree?
Yes, of course. So definitely businesses that have strong visual presence already. So think about products, fashion brands, of course, but also Instagram can be a great tool for people that may not see their business in a very visual way. So people that are business coaches or somebody that has a service, that is a great opportunity for them. Maybe they don't have the products or actual tangible things to have photos of, but it allows them to really be creative to share their brand story. And so that means a lot of different things. Like your brand story can be like your core values. So what do you really believe in and generally in the world? And other people will resonate with that. Then things that are going on in your business, or maybe it's client testimonials, or maybe you're a business coach that works with clients and they have products. So there's really great ways to kind of come up with content if you're not a product and service. Some businesses that I don't really think that are great for Instagram particularly is like a financial services or legal services. And those particularly are more difficult because they can't readily give tips like some other businesses just because of legalities of it. So just that makes it a little bit more complicated. So you can like talk about lifestyle and like resonate with your customers that way, but it just makes it a little bit more difficult because with clients that are service bases, I like to showcase their expertise. And in some businesses, it's just because of legal reasons you can't always do that.
I think it's always interesting though, because Instagram is often used, and it might just be from a personal point of view, but I think companies do as well, as showing the idyllic situation, right? That perfect moment. So if it's somebody in a camper van, it won't be a picture of them broken down on the side of the road. It'll be a picture of them, with the tailgate open and just looking out over this beautiful lake or something like that. And again, the same thing for fashion. It's these perfect photo shoots, and cars and other expensive products have a great way to feature that amazing imaginary lifestyle that people want to aspire to. But I think that there's always a challenge, and I'd love to have your opinion on this. When people don't necessarily, like you mentioned, have that product or that particular kind of niche whereby they can showcase that dream world of what people are aspiring to, what are some of the sorts of content that they can really use and try and build up? So you mentioned there people that have services, that help other people, consultants or coaches. What sort of content do you think is the best, and what sort of content has performed the best for some of your clients when you're trying to help people to use Instagram more effectively?
So some of the things that people can do, yeah, like those idyllic photos of living the dream is definitely beneficial because we want to look at what our target customer base wants. Like, what are their desires? What are they wanting to incorporate into their life, or where do they see themselves? And so having those like perfect photos are definitely important. And so some of those, I plan monthly photo shoots with my clients. So we'll come up with a shot list, we'll look at our content calendar and figure out what kinds of content do we need for that month, and then work through that. So that's kind of where we go on that like staged side of it. But some other content ideas is maybe there's a quote that you add it could be a famous author and you write their name as that's their quote, but then you add your handle to the bottom and you design it in your brand colors. Maybe it is a how-to video or reel. Maybe it is the testimonials. So it could just be text of a testimonial so that people can see, oh, yeah, this is a real human and this is their industry and this is them saying, giving validation to whatever experience they've had with your brand. And then you can use stock images. So what I will do is I will take the images of a brand and then mix them in with some stock images that I find. You can also use other people's photos. So if there's a really great photo that somebody else created, you can go to that person and just say, hey, I really love this photo. I'd love to share it on my feed and tag you. And of course, other people want more exposure on Instagram. So chances are they'll probably say yes so that they can, be in front of more people.
I think some of those are great, especially things like testimonials as well, where you get that kind of double whammy. It gives you some content to post, but it's also social proof. And that really helps for other people to get an idea and a feel for how you work and how other people have responded to your services, let's say. So I think that kind of content can be really good. For everyone listening, though, how do you help clients to best achieve results when it comes to using things like hashtags and making sure that they're getting that kind of initial organic exposure?
I definitely suggest that everyone use 30 hashtags because that's the complete amount that you can use on Instagram. So I'll do 20 that are the typical ones that are trending for that particular industry. And we usually do like a competitive analysis to see what best in class are doing as well as more comparable competitors so that you're seeing which ones of their posts are trending, which ones of their posts are getting likes. And it could be relative to their follower base or their ad spend, but it also could contribute to their hashtags. So that's one way. So doing a competitive analysis, seeing what your competitors are doing, and then and having a core 20. And then changing 10 of them per post. So for example, maybe you are a company that helps people create their business plans. But you have a client that is a food and beverage company. Maybe it's a restaurant. So you could share a photo from your client, share their success story, and then also in those 10 hashtags, it could be around that because maybe you want to attract more restaurants. So maybe it's like hashtag restaurant marketing, hashtag grow your restaurant, hashtag cocktails, or whatever kind of food it is. So the 10 you change per image, and then the 20 is your core base that you know really are associated to your brand and your industry.
I like that. And it sounds like a great way to test various different things and to see what really works. Like you mentioned there, if telling those sort of success stories for restaurants or anything else ends up sort of potentially even creating a niche that maybe a business owner who's helping other businesses doesn't even realize that he should be in or she should be in. And I think that's something that's really interesting as well. By testing those 10 each time, you're kind of finding different ways that it works, or different ways that it works better for your brand as well online.
Yeah, and also too, you can check it. So on Instagram in the back end analytics, and you don't need a fancy tool or anything, you can literally go into your photo, and in the analytics of that particular post, you'll see how many people came to your page from the hashtags.
And again, this is why I love digital. I don't know about you, but it's the fact that there is so much data to be able to look through and figure out what does and what doesn't work.
Yeah, exactly. And sometimes I usually will say photos, people like actual humans. So I always post photos of myself and my team, and it might not even be of us working, but it's that people know us, our clients know us. So when we're like working with them, talking to them on a daily basis, and they see a photo of us pop up, they'll like it just because they have a human connection with us, not even because they like the photo so much. And so I generally, a lot of companies will be like, oh, we don't really want to post pictures of us or our team, but those pictures really do work because the people are who, your customers and other people are really connecting with and building the relationship with.
How do you feel that things like behind the scenes content works? Businesses trying to showcase who they really are, what happens sort of behind those closed doors, how they make the magic happen, as it were. How do you feel that sort of content performs for businesses?
I think that performs really well. So for photo shoots, we'll do behind the scenes, and people get excited about that. I have a client that is building her podcast, and she built a whole like cube in her house, soundproof and everything. And so we showed some parts of like that build out, and it was cool. Restaurants when they're being launched, showing, we did a reveal. So we did behind the scenes stories, and then on the Instagram, we did a reveal of the restaurant with using one image of what the restaurant looked like, and then took 9 blocks of that one image and kind of unraveled it. And we started from the floor and went up. And so people were like getting excited, like, okay, we can't wait to see like what this whole thing looks like. So I think behind the scenes gives people a little bit more of a connection, and they feel like you're real. Of course, it can't like be super messy, and stories are a great way to showcase some of these behind the scenes things. But if you do have cool photos of behind the scene things, like close-ups of whatever, or I posted a picture of me and one of my partners working at the pool of this hotel in the Caribbean. So we're in like at the pool, like completely working. It was not a stage photo. Like one of our friends was like, okay guys, you're working and we're supposed to be at the pool right now. And we're like, oh, well, okay. And I posted that picture because it was just something organically that we got, and everyone loved it because it was, they're like, okay, good. We hired the right team. They're supposed to be at the pool right now, but they're working.
That's always a good way of showcasing that you really care, not abusing of the nice pool in the Caribbean. Although I think you just made everybody jealous, especially as the weather starts turning colder. What would you say is the bulk of your clients? Is it within sort of fashion? Is it within food and beverages? Do you have a particular niche?
I work a lot with business coaches and speakers and authors. So that's the bulk of my business. But I also do work with fashion brands. I do have a background. I went to the Fashion Institute of Technology a million years ago in New York City. And so I have a background in fashion and styling and things like that and merchandising. But I think that that also helps me really personify my business coaches and speakers and authors because they need to have a presence and really brand themselves as well. So and then I have worked with a lot of restaurants so I came from the event marketing space. So fashion and then event marketing before I started my business. And so I have a lot of different ideas on how that works. So a lot of restaurants and owners know me from my time before. And so I've just organically been in touch with those people and gotten those clients. But of course, the whole food and beverage industry, well, not whole, but, restaurants in particular are struggling right now with the current climate.
That's understandable. And I think there's going to be a lot of businesses, unfortunately, that are going to be struggling over the next few months or maybe even years. But let's try and help everyone as much as possible. So what are some of the ways that you can tell people that they can, what can they do to help them grow on Instagram, to help build their audience, to help build that engagement?
So I would definitely suggest creating an organic engagement strategy. So definitely number one is have your marketing plan, create your content calendars, schedule out your photo shoots, and really figure out what hashtags are going to work. So with all of our clients, we start off with, okay, so this is our month. What are we talking about each week? Like I pick a subject matter. So it's just a particular subject matter around whatever, even if it's like, let's talk about hashtags this week. Let's talk about creating a content calendar next week. So we really figure out how to come up with a theme for each week for any business. And then we'll go in and figure out what kinds of topics. You also want to feature, there's a bunch of quirky holidays. So there's these holidays like, National Milkshake Day or International Best Friends Day. There's like all of these really quirky holidays that you can use for hashtags. And if your business resonates with any of them, like, of course, you can utilize it. So if your business partner is your best friend, like maybe it's a great way to share that story on your page. So that's number one, creating your content calendar, staging out all of your photos, making sure you have quality, consistent content every single day, planning out your hashtags, those things. Then from there, creating an engagement strategy. And so, of course, with your posts, you want to have those be engaged with naturally. So asking questions on them. Maybe you add stories with polls or ask your clients or your followers what they want to know about. So definitely asking questions of people, having people do things. So telling people to tag a friend or do X, because people will listen to direction, or I don't know if you've noticed, but like a lot of pages will say, double tap if this resonates with you, or double tap if you love this, double tap if you like this. And so obviously everyone knows you can double tap and like a photo on Instagram, but having somebody tell you, giving you those directions, subconsciously we do it more. So those posts will always generate more likes. Then basically going out and engaging with people. So what we do is we figure out what are some typical comments that we're going to always use. So we'll write a list of those. So it's kind of like copy and paste at this time, but obviously you have to find the right people to use those comments with. We'll write a list of hashtags that we feel will really help with connecting with the right people. We'll find locations and other accounts that we know that our perfect client is hanging out in. So once we have all of that data, and that's doing research and checking out your competitors and all of that, then we'll go and find the right people. So Instagram I really like because you can really understand who somebody is. So if you know that your target demographic is a man in his 30s that plays golf that, travels to Florida or is in Florida, like it's really easy to find him. And generally you can see what photos represents that person. And then you want to start engaging with them. So liking some of their photos, commenting on them, maybe sending them a DM, things like that. So that's one really great way to connect with people. Because generally, if you're going after a very specific person that you think that your product or service will help, and you start with that conversation, most chances they will acknowledge you rather than just like a follow. Because they'll see that you liked some photos, they'll see that you commented, and they'll see that you sent them a DM. So it's, building that rapport and that conversation. So maybe they follow you, maybe they check out your website, maybe they opt into whatever your freebie is. So I think that's a really great way. Another like little Instagram hack is, say you have your posts going out at 11 o'clock every day. At 10:50, if you go and start engaging at that time, when your post goes out, you will get more likes on that post because your account's active and you started connecting with people, and they're going to now check out who you are and see that new post. And that new post will get more likes or they'll get more views, and it will, for the whole Instagram algorithm will grow more.
That's a really interesting hack. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Awesome. So we've got planning out the content calendar, which I think is always a necessity no matter what digital channel anyone's using. Creating an organic engagement strategy, something that I talk to clients about loads, which is when people complain about little or no engagement, I say, when was the last time you asked them to engage? And that usually brings on a very quiet silence where people kind of realize, oh, I forgot to do that, or I didn't realize I should be doing that. And again, going out and engaging with other people. I think this is one of the biggest things that people miss as an opportunity, no matter what channel you're on, especially within social. When all these channels started, like Facebook, it was all about being a social network. It was about networking. It was about bringing people together. It was about connecting with like-minded people. And we've really forgotten that. When it started to be referred to as social media, I find like people thought it was just about consuming. And for brands, that invariably meant shouting out into the void at people rather than having conversations with people. And I feel like that's something that's it has a huge impact on our business and the way that we do outreach and how we talk to people. But I think it's a huge part of any digital strategy today. And it's something that too many people are missing out on. Do you agree?
Yeah, for sure. Social media, it's supposed to be social, and I love the way that you phrase that. Like, people are just shouting out into the abyss. Like, I have so many clients that will come to me and be like, oh, we're just going to post things and we're going to get so many followers. And like, I offer a service where I tell people, I'm like, we will use hashtags in posts and we'll make your page look pretty and on brand, but that's not going to get you followers. Like, it's a good starting place, because when you want to start running ad campaigns or when you want to start doing engagement, your page needs to look nice, have the feel and the essence of your brand, and tell that story. But like, we offer a service, and it's just specifically, I tell them, it's like, this is just your branding and your like a touch point. This is not going to bring you in business, and it is not going to just like grow your followers. And it might a little bit, but not if you don't do these other components with it. So that whole shouting out into the space, like, there's, millions of people that are on each platform. Just because you're on there doesn't mean that you're going to be connecting with people. So you actually need to connect. And then, like, think about it. If you go to like an event, like a networking event, a business event, or a party, you're not going to just walk up to somebody and be like, oh, hi, I do this, buy my service. Like, that would be weird. And people think that they can do that on social media.
I often talk about it as the dating analogy. So,
yes,
going on your first date and saying, right, you, me, marriage, 2 kids and a house. What do you say? And people obviously going, well, you definitely wouldn't date in that way. And obviously the idea is that you get to know people. And how do you get to know people? You ask questions, you listen to the other person. And that is 100% for me the strategy that should be used on social media as well. People are too quick to kind of bat away anything that's negative or bad comments, or even if it's constructive criticism. And they're way too shy, it seems, to actually ask questions and to engage in that conversation, as opposed to just saying, like you said there, buy my services. This is who we are. Buy my services. Buy this, buy this. And I think there is definitely a space for promotion. And I'm not saying that there isn't, but I think that there's an element of using these networks for what they were originally designed to do and using them to the full of their potential, which is really to engage with people. And even if it is on a one-to-one level, especially when it's a small business and they're just starting out, the owner is usually the be all and end all of the company. He's the business champion, or she's the business champion. And that person reaching out to actually interact with other people is hugely powerful. It's an absolute asset to any company. It's something that, as companies get bigger, is usually lost very, very quickly for obvious reasons. They've got other things to deal with. They've got more employees. They've got more stress, more things to do, less time. But especially in those early stages, really interacting is a great way to get to know your audience, to figure out who they are, what they actually do, where they hang out, what they like to talk about, even how they talk. All of those things come from having that engagement and having those conversations with people online.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I like that you mentioned how they speak. So that tone of it, like every brand has a different tone. Every person has a different tone. And, it's not going to be the same across the board. And that's like a learning process as well. Setting that tone for your business is one thing, but then understanding, what tone really resonates. Like on my social media, we like, we're like dreamers and creative and things like that, but we're like super like friendly and girly about things, because that's just kind of how I am, and how the girls on my team are. And, we're basically all up in everyone's business, like, so that we can really personify their brand or really grow their story. And so we need to know all of these things. So we try to be very friendly and peer-like, so people feel trust to let us in to help them share themselves.
That is something that I think is really important. It's sharing the story, but also just sharing who you are, forgetting the whole fake it till you make it, forgetting the whole putting on this online persona, but being who you actually are and representing that online is, one, going to be fantastic for you because it's easy to be yourself. It's much easier than pretending to be somebody else. But two, it's also going to give that absolute correlation between who somebody saw online and then who somebody meets or talks to. And I think that's the real disconnect for a lot of brands. Sometimes, again, they try and come across as super corporate or super professional, super like they're a big, big team. And then invariably, when you actually meet them, you realize there's a couple of people working on something, which wouldn't have been a problem if you had known that at the beginning. But it's something that then rubs you the wrong way almost, because you've given this impression that you're something that you're not. Or people that talk in a really particular corporate way, for example, on their website or on social media or anything else. And then when you meet them, they're really laid back and chilled. And I'm okay with it. I just want to see that throughout everything they're doing. I don't want to kind of be confused by different sort of personas and different kind of differentiations between online and then in real life. Is that something that you help, or you've seen with clients and you've had to help them with?
Yeah, so my slogan is, it's all about the narrative. And so really being consistent in that narrative across all platforms is super important. And like you said, it's not about faking it to make it. It's not about creating this inauthentic narrative. It's being authentic. Like, I like doing exercises with my clients where we go over core values, because some of those things may not have anything to do with your business, but it's like the way you operate. So like some of my core values is creativity, authenticity, integrity, and so we incorporate those things. And then some of the things that around that is kind of like, we work with a lot of entrepreneurs. So we talk about lifestyle. I mean, I do a lot of like, yoga and meditation and sound baths, and I run marathons, and like, so I do certain things that kind of are in alignment when we're like, okay, self-care, like let's do this, you know, having that kind of connection with yourself and like being authentic and being okay with all of the things that come your way as an entrepreneur. You know, I think that sharing some of that stuff, I think makes A, some people have that in common with me, and B, like people kind of get who I am. I travel a super ton. I speak at events all over the world. And when they see those things on my social media, they're like, okay, we get you kind of.
I think that's the most important thing though, right? It reflects who you actually are.
Yeah. And I have lots of clients that are a bit older and they're not accustomed to, they've been in business for like 20, 30 years and they're not necessarily accustomed to sharing themselves like that. And so I get it. Like it's not the generation that they grew up in, but, and they're like, yeah, I want to share this, but I don't want to like overshare, or I don't want to brag, or I don't want to make people feel bad. And so it's interesting. There's some people that create this fake persona. There's some people that are hesitant to share their realness because it's not something that they're accustomed to. So it's about kind of like balancing it out with like showcasing how you help people, how your products and services are beneficial, and then like really positioning yourself as an expert in the space so that you're a contribution to others. So I always tell the clients that are afraid to share, I'm like, okay, well, if we don't share this, then all of these people that could be benefited are not going to be blessed with that. So just look at it as we're sharing your story, we're sharing your tips, because you're a contribution in the world.
I couldn't agree more. So let's talk a little bit as well about paid ads on Instagram. What are some of the tips for people out there that do want to start growing, that don't necessarily want to wait for the organic benefits of doing it all slowly, bit by bit? What are some of the great ways that people can advertise on Instagram and make the most of their very hard-earned cash that they have to spend?
So on Instagram ads, I would always suggest going into a website or a place where somebody can opt in. And that's part of kind of one of my key points, is that you want to be able to provide somebody with an offer that's going to have them leave Instagram so that you're gathering data, or so that they're making a purchase. I love people that are doing video ads, or people that are doing ads that have multiple photos in the slide, because it just gives you a little bit more depth through your ad. So those are great tips. Then another thing is to offer something. So people generally aren't going to spend more than $100 if you take them off of social media, unless it's like something or a brand that they already know of. So for example, if you're like, Nordstrom or Harrods or Bergdorf's, or a brand store that people have known for a million years that carry certain things that their price point's higher, and they might, people know what they're getting. But if you're a brand new business and you don't really have that much of a following, you want to think about what you can offer somebody either for free or under $100. So I say that because there's a lot of business coaches out there that will be like, okay, I'm going to do an ad campaign and I'm going to sell my $1,000 digital course. And I don't really think that chain, I haven't seen much success when it comes to a brand new person in the space, or maybe you're not brand new, but maybe you're just brand new on social media, putting up an ad and then trying to sell a product that is that much. So I definitely suggest crafting out your sales and marketing funnel. So for business coaches, I think it's really great to offer something. Maybe it's a $47 something. Maybe it's a free ebook. So maybe you're just building your email list. Maybe it's a how-to tips sheet, or, a guide. So something that is a freebie that people are going to want to put in their email address or their phone number and be sent this guide that they find is valuable to them. And then from there, that person's information is in your database, and you understand that they're specifically interested in a topic. whatever topic you're giving out as that freebie. And then from there, you can upsell them. So maybe it's, a couple days later, they get another email, how is that guide? Would you like help going over it? Set up a complimentary 20-minute consult with me today. Or maybe it's, oh, here is a 20-minute video, a free video on how to use that guide. So now you're getting somebody to go back into your realm and have that video. So you see that they watched the video, you see that they didn't watch the video, and then you can send them another automated email campaign for the next step in your funnel. So guiding people that way, you understand that they're interested already rather than trying to hard sell them at first. And you're providing them with some free value so that they're getting to know you, they're getting to learn your expertise, and they're seeing that they have a need and that you have the tools to help them, solve whatever that need is. Then for businesses that sell products online, I would suggest doing something like where it's a discount. Generally, a lot of brands will do, oh, we're having a sale. Like, so the bigger department stores will do sales a lot. Restaurants, if they want to do something where it's taking people to their booking or to their online ordering, I think that those are really beneficial. So I suggest anything to be under $100 if it's people that if you're focusing your ad to only your followers, then you could do it for higher as a price point. But if you're targeting a whole new ad set of people that have never really interacted with your brand, it needs to be less than 100. And it takes people 7 to 12 touch points of interacting or seeing a brand before they make a decision to even purchase. So that's why having daily content is great, because you're staying on top of mind. And some of social media is just PR. It's just telling the story. It's building that comfortable feeling with people. It's when they're doing research on your brand, they can go and understand your vibe, understand what you're about, see the professionalism in your work. So people think that, just having social media isn't good if they're not making a ton of sales, which obviously we want sales and growth, but it's also a great point of reference for people that are doing research, because I think nowadays all of us are really doing research on anything we buy. I know for myself, I don't know, maybe if it's because I'm on the digital space, but Chris, would you say that you research anything that you're going to buy?
I'm literally the worst person in the world. I spent 3 weeks at the beginning of summer researching the particular barbecue model that I wanted. So yeah, I'm terrible with these kind of things, but I kind of believe in the idea of, if you're going to buy something, buy the right thing, and then you don't have to buy another one for a while. So I very much agree. And I know that it's a real struggle, especially for small businesses and starting. I don't like to use the word startup too much, but when they're just starting out, they want everyone to be their clients and they want everyone to buy right now. And unfortunately, when you mention some big brands, right? Nordstrom, Harrods, whoever, it's years, it's decades of building trust with people so that when you see that name today, you don't hesitate. If you're going to buy it, you're happy to buy it from them. The same thing is true for Amazon or Apple online. There's no hesitation. But when you see X person talking about, a course or, consultancy or whatever else, people need to see a little bit more. They need to understand who you are. They're going to want to check out who you are before making a rash decision. And I think that's a hugely important part of any marketing cycle. If there's a way to bring people in, have those multiple touch points, give them away something that adds loads of value, and then slowly build that relationship. Again, back to the dating analogy. You don't ask somebody to marry you on the first date. You get to know them on the first date. So think about it in the same way. And that's going to be one of the best ways to actually build that audience, build those customers, and actually make sure that you have a great reputation along the way as well.
Yeah, for sure. Obviously when people work with digital marketers like ourselves, they want instant results, and we will get some, but it's you need to build that reputation. I have people that will, from my person, on my personal Facebook, I don't really post too much about business. I mean, I definitely do, but people have known I've been doing this for years. And so I post videos, I post, podcasts, I post all of these things, giving people all of this free knowledge and these free tips so that they really understand like what I'm doing. So it's not even a question. Like they've seen me do this for so long that when they have the need, they contact me just because I've built this brand. And when I first started, that wasn't the case. It was like, oh, what are you doing? Okay. Like, let's see what you have. But yeah, I think that that's really great to like, you need to build relationships in anything. And it's, sales is sales. It's not going to happen just because you tell somebody. It could, but it needs to be like this building relationship situation.
I really enjoyed this conversation, Farhana. I really, really like the way that you guys approach Instagram. Before we round up, the question I'm asking to myself is Instagram your favorite social media channel?
Instagram is my favorite.
And you personally on Instagram?
I am. So everyone can find me at the letter I, Media Exposure on Instagram.
Perfect. We will add that into the show notes as well. Farhana, thank you so much for coming on. I really enjoyed this. And before we shoot out, is there any other ways that people can get in touch with you, reach out to you?
On my Instagram, I have all of my links. I have a free social media style guide that people can get either on my website at imediaexposure.com, or there's a link right on Instagram for all of my free workshops and for my free guides and stuff right there. So I'd like to make it easy for everyone.
Excellent. Well, we will add a link as well to that freestyle guide. Thank you again for coming on.
Awesome. Thank you. Bye.
The All About Digital Marketing podcast is brought to you by Social Inc., a distributed digital marketing agency specialized in delivering results through online campaigns. Whether it's content marketing, social media marketing, online advertising, or web design, we've got you covered, from strategy through to delivery. If you're struggling with your digital marketing, get in touch today by simply visiting www.socialinc.co.